Welcome to the Resonate Church Missoula podcast. This podcast exists to equip and encourage the members of Resonate Church to get the gospel to people, people to community, and community to mission. Thanks for listening.
How is it going, Resonate Church? My name is Austin, and I am so glad that you guys are tuning in with us today for another episode of Thursday Testimonies, where we get to hear the story of God at work in the lives of the owners of our church. Today, we are sitting down with Aaron Mamula. Yeah, getting to hear how God has drawn Aaron to himself. And so I'm excited to introduce Aaron. Aaron, why don't you tell people who you are and sort of like what you're doing right now?
Yeah, hi guys. I'm Aaron. I am currently a second year at the college, and I'm studying music education. So pursuing that path. I'm also living at Firewatch, if you didn't know. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, well, I know there's been a journey to get you where you're at now, and I mean, so much that God is teaching you in this moment, but sort of tell us, like, where does this begin? Where does your story begin? And yeah, we'll start at the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. I was born into pretty great house, honestly. My parents kind of just, they hadn't been to church in a while, but when they had me, they decided that they wanted to raise my brother and I in church, and kind of got back into it. So went to lots of VBSs and things like that at this church called Kenmore Community Church near Seattle, which is where I'm from. And I was a very sensitive kid. I was the kind of kid that it would be like, stop saying sorry, and I'd say sorry. Like, I was that kind of kid. Cried a lot. Was always, I think a big part of it was my dad was pretty, like, he was always about, like, me having a lot of potential and, like, wanting me to live up to that. And I think that was great in a lot of ways, but I think I was always seeking perfection. Very much perfectionist from a young age. And I think that only continued to develop into getting older. And I think, yeah, just that pursuit of perfection is like something that God really just placed on my heart and like a desire I had from a young age. And I was like, also played baseball for a while, kind of growing up, and was like the coach's kid, best player kind of thing, but I never really practiced. So as I got older, I feel like there was this transition kind of period where I started not being the best kid on the team anymore, and I started like falling more and more towards like the bench warmer, and that like just tanked my confidence a lot. And I think I was very like confident in myself, like as a kid, and had like a lot of baseball friends and stuff, but now we're kind of getting into like middle school area where that was happening. And then I just made some friends that maybe weren't the best choice of friends in middle school, and I wouldn't say they were bad influences, but they weren't raised with the same morals and were pretty outward about just indulging in some things that weren't super healthy to indulge in. And I feel like that was also just kind of where I feel like I started feeling some loneliness and some things like that, which I think are pretty central parts of my testimony. And
sorry, we were interrupted in our recording. Unfortunately, the one and only Oscar Murphy needed to use the room we were in. So just to pick up where Aaron was, is in middle school, in growing in his his relationships around him were changing, friend groups were changing, and there was this new sense of loneliness. So give you back the floor, Aaron, and let you pick up sort of where you were heading.
Yes, thank you. I think it's also important to mention that I very much, I identified strongly with being a Christian, up till this point, and I think thought I knew completely how Jesus worked, and thought I was, at VBS I was the kid who memorized the most amount of Bible verses and stuff, and I just think it's interesting how I thought I knew God, but I didn't in a lot of ways. But yeah, so as that was happening, then 8th grade hit, COVID hit, and that was a big part of my testimony. A year before COVID, my family had moved, not very far, but just far enough that I was going to be going to a different high school than that whole friend group that I had was going to be going to, and that made me really nervous. And that move it felt like my life was just crumbling for some reason. Not even that it was that much of an issue, but just everything I knew was changing, and it was just a scary time. And then COVID hit, and really struggled with online school and just realizing how much it meant for me to be around people, and not having that was very difficult. I think I just remember sitting in my room and asking myself all these existential questions, just why are things happening the way they're happening? It feels like I have no control over my life, and I kind of just felt like a burden to everyone around me, and mostly I just pull up to Zoom class and then throw Minecraft on my other monitor, and just kind of do that. I think my one saving grace was I'd still practice my saxophone, my clarinet over COVID. I'm very thankful I did, because I came back from school, and it was tough, because now I'm at this high school that I don't know anybody, because all my friends went to that other high school, and I was just so anxious to meet anyone. Struggled with a lot of social anxiety, and it was kind of weird. In Seattle, COVID was pretty big, so even though it started, I did online school at the end of my 8th grade year, and then a whole freshman year was online until the very end. It was a hybrid thing, so half the students came back, but the teacher still had to run Zoom for the classes, which was not ideal. And then sophomore year was an entire year of wearing masks. So definitely a lot of regulations in my area, and I think it just made it hard to connect with a lot of people. But band was a very good place for me. I think because I practiced during COVID, I ended up getting placed as lead alto of my high school jazz band as a sophomore, which was uncommon. And my band director, it was expected that as playing lead alto in a jazz band, you're setting the example for what the saxophone should sound like. So being in that kind of leadership role, made me really nervous, because there's seniors who are sitting next to me, and I'm supposed to lead them and tell them how I think we should play this passage. And luckily, even though I was terrible at that, they were very supportive. They helped me out a lot in that, and our section was very, some sections is the lead alto just tells you everything you need to do, but then our section was very democratic. We talked about how we wanted to sound and stuff, and my high school jazz program was very good. Went to New York 3 times, which was awesome, and I really built relationships with the people in my jazz band from that. So I think that just instilled the sense of me of I wanted to become a better person. I wanted to fix my loneliness and fix all of these. I wanted to not feel like a burden anymore. I wanted to feel like I was confident in communicating with people, and I just wanted. I knew life could be lived better. It could be lived to a fuller extent, and I think band was a big part of like starting my search for that, which is a big part of why I am pursuing music education. And I remember, my family was still going to church, but I think just kind of less often. The sports had kind of caused some of that, and it was just busy seasons of life. But I remember, like, I feel like God was just interjecting himself in small capacities. Kind of fast forwarding a bit, like junior year, we were doing baptisms at my church, and my family was like, we should get baptized. And I remember just kind of thinking about my faith more then. I don't necessarily think I should have got baptized then, because I don't think I had really made Jesus Lord of my life, but I did with my family, and I definitely thought it was very beautiful. Enjoyed it. I remember even watching some videos on YouTube that were like motivational videos, like here's how you can like live your life better and like not procrastinate, because really did that. So I was looking for things, and I just hadn't come across how fulfilling Jesus was, and his story for me and what he's called me to was quite yet. I'd also gotten into a relationship sophomore year of high school, and was a girl who was very similar to me, like struggled with a lot of social anxiety, and I feel like we almost had, like, having that in common, like, just felt comfortable, which was not a great thing, but as I said, I was searching for more, and I don't think she was in a place where she was searching for more. She was just kind of very stuck in where she was at, and as time continued, I think I just kept adopting the mentality of like, oh, like I can see this progress in myself, like, and I can like fix her, like not literally that, but like, oh, I can like help her, and we can like alongside each other grow in these ways, and like that's what I envisioned, but it just never really happened. She wasn't super receptive of that, and I ended up staying in the relationship for way longer than I should have. Like I knew it wasn't going to work out, but like I knew I wouldn't want to marry this woman, but it was just comfortable, and I was just too scared to end things, but at this point, I now my senior year, I think I had made more friends in band and stuff. My life was looking a little better, but I definitely still would just struggle with self-worth sometimes. I'd fall back into like, just going to bed at night and being like, man, like I don't like who I am. Like I just feel like I fail at everything I do. And like I mentioned the perfection thing earlier, because it was just this, like anytime I wouldn't do something very well, like it just hit me like a truck, and I placed so much of like my happiness and my sense of worth on my performance and in my works. And I remember, I don't remember why really, but I feel like I was just trying to pay more attention to God. I was trying to get back into praying. I think that's what it was. I would pray like every night growing up, but I think kind of middle school, high school, that just stopped, and I just wasn't praying a ton. I think I just realized like, man, I haven't been doing this, and I was starting to pray more, and I had been thinking about breaking up with my girlfriend for like 6 months now. I remember just hanging out with her one day, and I wasn't intending to break up with her, but I was like talking to her about something, and then it just hit me, like some kind, maybe the Holy Spirit. I don't know. And I was like, I actually need to break up with her. And I did. And we had been dating for 2 years, and she was completely crushed. I had done a terrible job at like just becoming so emotionally, physically intimate that, you know, she just, regardless of what I thought, like she had this idea in her head that things were just going to work out.
Yeah.
And kind of side note, but like guys who are dating, like, please keep in mind that like your girlfriend, like, her emotions like matter, and you have a responsibility to not become so emotionally attached to this person that if you were to break up, they're gonna be extremely hurt. Because I witnessed firsthand what that looks like, and I felt terrible, like, because I just wanted the best for her. There's no bad blood there on my end, but then unfortunately it ended up kind of being that way because she hated me for it, and that was a whole story. But that's a side tangent. But
it's always a relationship.
Yeah,
God always uses a relationship somehow.
Totally, it's funny. Yeah. So that felt freeing. That felt freeing, but at the same time was tough. And then I think where God really stepped in and just showed me a solution to all of these. You know, I of course was really down on myself for the poor ways I had handled that relationship, and was very critical of myself for that as well. I knew this friend from work, and we had just been kind of like chatting for a while. She was a cool person, and she invited me to go to this youth group that she had used to go to, and she used to go to, and wanted to get back into it, but kind of wanted like a friend to do it with. So I was like, okay, you know, sounds good. Like, I'll try it out. My youth group at my church was, it was my brother and I, these 3 middle school girls, and then our neighbors. And our neighbors were like really great friends with. We're not Christian, but came to the youth group, and it was very, very fun for a long time. But unfortunately, one of the neighbor kids got in this huge argument with our youth pastor because he was on his phone during youth group, and my pastor was not cool with that, or like during the little sermon he was giving, and they ended up leaving because of that, because they didn't like how my pastor handled it. And then my brother didn't want to go because it wasn't fun without my neighbors. So it was just me and 3 middle school girls for a little bit, and it just didn't work out. And the youth culture at my church was just really hit by COVID. So that I just never. I think my church back home was great, but it was just older folks, and I never saw what it looked like for someone my age to have faith, like true, genuine faith that was like producing fruit in them and was actually impacting how they lived. So this youth group that I was invited to was like the opposite. Thriving culture, like 30 kids there maybe, different age groups. It was just so much fun because this was like spring. It was getting warm out. Like we were playing 9 square and just like hanging out, and like it was just different. I had always struggled with just like not like I sought deep conversations so badly, and just talking, like the best conversations I'd had were the conversations that were about life and about belief and about these beautiful broad things, and it just felt like it was always small talk with the people I met at school. But these people, even though I hadn't known them for long, like after the sermon they'd give, we would just get into small groups and just like hearing the other guys like talk about what they're talking about and asking me like genuine questions about my life and my faith, and because like I said, I was a Christian, but them asking me questions, I was like, oh man, I started feeling convicted that I was just learning. I was actually paying attention. I think I struggled to pay attention in church a lot because I was always tired. But it was just so special to see. I feel like I just connected to them on a deeper level much faster than I had connected to people in so long, and it was so refreshing. So very thankful for that youth group, and they're just doing a great job. And I just remember listening to the worship music, and I was just actually paying attention to the words, and I was like, these are so beautiful. And I was so moved just by the music there as well, by the music, by the community. And I saw that people there read their Bible, so I started reading my Bible, and I started in Acts, which is kind of an interesting place. I don't think a lot of people start there, but I was like, I think I had it in my mind that like my mom had always tried to read her Bible, but she like would start in Genesis, and she was like, she had told me before like, oh, it's so hard and stuff, and I think I had this like perception that it's just like really difficult and stuff. But starting the New Testament, like there is so much interesting stuff, and
that's another helpful tip for anyone who's starting to read.
Yeah,
I think that's a really good perspective.
Totally. And yeah, I just remember everything I knew about God, that I thought I knew about God, growing up and stuff. It was so much more personal than I thought it was. I think growing up going to church and stuff, like there was never really a time in my life where I didn't believe in a higher power. Like I always believed that a God was out there, but I had not defined what that God was, and reading the Bible helped me do that, and that church community helped me do that, because my perception of God was that he was there and he created the world, but now he was just kind of far off, like watching it from a distance. And maybe he'd send Jesus to forgive my sins so that, like, I don't know, he wouldn't kill me or something. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Like, our God is closer than we could even imagine. And I think God's immanence was, like, a huge part of what drew me to him when I started reading the Bible and realizing, like, how much he cared about Paul's life and about all of these other people's lives, and just hearing the testimonies of people in my church at that youth group, and how, like, really he had been there all along, their whole lives, like, guiding them, and they just were blind to it. And I looked back and I saw how that move where I went to that high school and I was so scared, that new high school, because I was so scared that I wasn't going to be with new friends. But then I ended up, that high school was like the best band program around, and then I got into band, made friends there, and then it eventually was led to this youth group. It just felt like God was being so intentional the whole time, and that just blew my mind. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, God, you're there, you care, like. And the other big thing was that he wants a relationship with you, and that church was really big on that. And I think that's just something my church back home just hadn't preached on a lot. Like, it was just pretty theological, and just knowing, like, that God wanted a relationship with me and that I had been neglecting that for so long was, I think, I don't remember a specific time, but it was one of those youth group nights, I think, probably went home, like, after listening to all that great worship music, and and just kind of re-saying my prayer, like, that I had said when I was young, of, like, Jesus, like, I believe all of this, like, you're there, and you care, and you're the Lord of my life. And yeah, I just felt like this hole was being filled there. So God being so caring was I think just like the biggest thing. I God is just more caring than any of us even imagine. And I think that's still something I forget sometimes and struggle with the most is like just remembering that he's close. Like, I'll be with you always till the end of the age. Like, do I really believe that in my day to day? Is something I'm working on. But
that's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good. So then, just as we sort of move towards a close here, as you have this moment, this experience through high school, what has it been like now? That was your senior year, right?
Yeah.
So post having this, like, maybe rededication or first time coming to know the Lord, what has it been like living with him? Now you're a sophomore, so like give us a little bit of insight in the last couple of years. Like, what has God been doing in your life now that we're at that point in your story?
Yeah, absolutely. Great things. Me talking about being a perfectionist, it's still there, but it has been worked on so much. I think another huge part of like, oh man, like I need God was like, man, I have this desire for perfection, but every other human is telling me like, oh yeah, humans, like, you're never gonna be perfect. It's just how we are, and I hated that. Like, I just hated failure, but it felt so logical and like such a perfect solution that because of Jesus' sacrifice, like God would see me as perfect, for he chose us in him before the creation of the world to be holy and blameless in his sight. Ephesians 1:4. And that was just like the greatest promise ever. And God has just been slowly changing my heart to truly believe that, and truly believe that because of his grace I don't need to feel fear of failure. And that has just been such a weight off my chest. I think I just can put a lot of weight on myself, but it's taking it away. I just felt a lot more confidence, self-confidence, confidence in holding conversation, and confidence in wanting to get to know others. And I think I had spent most of my summers kind of locked away playing video games, but this final summer, because I think I was really starting to get to know the Lord like spring of my senior year, like I was saying, this final summer just got out and did a lot more, which just felt like such a shift, and like I was just living such a healthier life. That girl that invited me to that youth group, started dating her. That's Anna.
That's fun.
Yeah. Which that's a whole story. I definitely was not in a place where I think I was ready for a relationship, but God has really just given me a heart of like, even though I hadn't read the Bible and there's so much I had to learn, and she had been reading the Bible like her whole life and knew so much, he just like put a heart in me that just wanted that knowledge, like wanted to be on her level with that. So I think I was just really like hunkering down, like reading the Bible, trying to pay attention to church and learn as much as I could. And I think the first like kind of year of our relationship was very like, I had a lot to learn, and and I was kind of emotionally unstable in a lot of ways still, but I think I've become so much more emotionally stable, and that's been helpful both for me, for my relationship, and other relationships. So that's been good. And then I remember my youth pastor from my church that I went to back home, not the one that I got saved at, but the church I was going to with my family, was like, asked me one day, like, are you planning on finding a church in college? And I was like, I really should. And then especially after all this happened, I wanted to find a church in college. So came to college, was so down, to go to a church. Like I was like ready to get back in this thing, and I went to Sovereign Hope Church here in Missoula. Liked it, nice people there, totally. But then Cash Bird actually at marching band camp gave me a little Resonate flyer, and I was like, okay, I'll try this one next week. See if I want to go back to Sovereign Hope or try this one, and saw Cash there, saw Martha, and then I knew them from band camp, and I was like, I liked the church, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna stay here, and it has been so great for my growth. So thankful for this church, because I feel like that desire I had to just be learning and grow into that man that I knew I wanted to become. I think Resonate just really aids that, and I think my church back home, like I said, great church, but just wasn't always super convicting. But I remember freshman year, like, receiving a lot of conviction. Like, every time I'd go to church, I'd be like, oh man, like I have so much I need to work on, and it's a scary thing, but I think, like, don't be scared of conviction. Like, God uses that for such good reasons, and I feel like even, like, praying, like, God, give me conviction, like, reveal my sin is just something you got to go through sometimes, and just knowing that, like, ultimately that's good, and, like, a good father disciplines their children. I remember reading that verse and being like, oh man, that's good. And yeah, it's just, I think I've just grown in a lot of ways from reading the Bible. So much wisdom, so much just changing my heart to not believe, like, the perception we all have of God and who God actually is different. And I think the Christian life in a lot of ways is like God through the Bible and through other people who are knowledgeable about Scripture and have been in prayer. God using that to change our definition to be more and more like how He actually is, and I think that's just been huge for me, and just learning who God actually is, and He's better than any of us could imagine. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Amen. Yeah, that was so good. It's incredible to hear God's faithfulness to you, and how He's grown you and taught you, and His faithfulness to you, and your response to Him is incredible, man. So we're glad to have you in our church, and we're excited to see God continue to work in your life and through your life. So thanks for coming on the podcast today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Austin.
For sure.